Hello, Shadow Era community, and welcome back again to State of the Era, the podcast presented by the A1 Alliance, bringing you the best Shadow Era discussion around. You are, of course, listening to the intensely sexy voice of NinjaDucky. We've got a great show lined up for you here. We'll be talking a lot about Quick Match, because we've talked a lot about the tournaments in the past, and Quick Match has a very different meta, very different way that you need to play in order to be successful. We'll also be bringing up armors. We've had a lot of people asking us, what we think about armors as a type of card. So, yeah, let's get to it. We've got a great crew here today. Cwhittastic.
What's up, guys?
We've got Otto7.
Insert Leonidas voice.
And we've got our special guest today, Quick Match Master Sisyphos.
Hey there.
All right, so before we jump into the quick match and armor and all that stuff, let's talk a little bit about the World Championships. We've only got 3 rounds left, so we've been playing for 5 rounds here. What have you guys been seeing out there? Have you guys been seeing the meta change at all? Have people been reacting to the World Championship tournament, or has it been pretty much steady in terms of the meta?
Yeah, I'd say it's steady. You see Lance and Saladar and Majaya. You see little to no 11 players. At least I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't either, actually. Which I find odd because she's always such a popular hero, and
yeah, maybe people get tired of her.
Well, I faced them
You see a few Moonstalkers around right now.
I've actually faced...
maybe because there are less 11 players.
I've faced a lot of Elab ones personally, which is kind of interesting, and seen a lot of Elab ones play. Like I've faced 2 myself already.
Yeah, me too. And in fact, 2 consecutive. I don't even remember. Maybe there were 3. I don't remember my beginning games.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So a very diverse World Championship meta, because we're all not even seeing the same types of decks, which is good. I think that's a credit to the game. Another thing that I noticed looking over the leaderboards on Challenge is that of the top 30 players that are there right now, there's only like 1 or 2 that aren't in a guild. What do you guys think that says about how useful a guild is to learning to play the game?
I personally can't stress enough how important a guild is. I know personally, just when I first joined the game, like the guild was huge in me getting decent fast, and then also too, like just when you jump on the RSC, played in different tournaments, being able to just ask, a friendly guildmate, hey, like, do you have a decent, Jericho deck or something that's already been tuned or tested? Or like Ducky, I borrowed a Gwen deck from you that worked well for me. Just being able to have the resources right there is huge.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not. It's also in the reverse way that you can think of it. It's not that all the good players are in guilds. You can just think that eventually, if you are a good player, you end up being in a guild.
Yeah.
So most of the times, those good players that haven't been in a guild are probably going to be in one sooner or later at least.
That's true.
That's true. They will attract attention from people who are in guilds, and everyone wants good players to join their guilds. So
I mean, what also helps is the scouting for World Championship matches.
Good point.
You don't have to invest nearly as much time, because you get home, you check the scouting report. Somebody, a lot of players are sticking with their heroes, and you check the scouting report, and you have a general idea usually what you're up against. So that helps a lot.
That's true. That's actually a tremendous help.
In many cases, it depends. I mean, in the first rounds, I am sure that it helps because there are too many people. You are very likely to face players who play only specific decks. But I think that once the rounds are excessive, you will probably face players who have good decks with all heroes. I mean, when it's round 7 or round 8 and you play for the top 30 and you are about 20 points, I really doubt that you are going to face players in which you are going to be...
Well, a lot of players aren't really... they have good decks, but aren't really good with a lot of heroes. I mean, that's because
true.
You need to practice a bit. A good deck alone doesn't help, and in that sense, just knowing a good deck from a guildmate or something, I don't know, it wouldn't as a surprise factor, but just playing a good and unexpected deck that you yourself don't have experience with, it can backfire. I'm usually not expecting people to pull a very unexpected hero, and I haven't seen it yet. Usually people play, or my opponents played what they played before.
I usually found with the opponents that I've been fighting, it's usually been that they have maybe 3 or 4 decks that they always are
3 or 4,
alternating
okay.
between. Because you don't, like, usually when I see what they played last round, they don't play the same thing again the next round. But if you watch, like, over the course of time, they sort of gravitate to these, like, few decks that they know are their best ones, which makes sense.
It's not completely random. It's only a very not many players can play completely random. Not a good
That's
idea.
very true.
That's true. Usually in low rates, you know that he will bring one of his 3-4 decks that you see that he uses, and in the top ranks, if you go above 20 points, eventually you will see players that they will have 6 or 7 decks that you have seen them playing. So, okay,
I
it's
don't think so. I mean, I don't know my rating right now, but I'm relatively high, and I think if somebody scouts me, he won't see a lot of diversity. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but you're famous for your Banebow decks.
Speaking, let's go ahead and move into the quick match on that note. As people may or may not know, Sisyphos is ranked number 2 on the quick match ladder, and he got there with his
What?
Banebow deck. I know, crazy, right? So I want to ask Sisyphos, because I've actually always been curious about this a little bit. What made you decide to use Banebow when the ratings reset to try to climb the ladder with him?
I just wanted to practice a bit, and I used to play Banebow a lot in 1.27, and then the next update you had these crazy Logan decks, remember?
I do. It was
And
annoying.
they crushed Banebow, and it was no fun playing Banebow again. So I was actually waiting for the next update, and said, so as soon as these Logan decks disappear, I'll play Banebow again. I just like to play him. That's all. I didn't choose him because it was the best choice to climb the ladder or something. It turned out that way because everybody was playing a Ludwin, and he's very good against a Ludwin. So I was just it wasn't intentional, but I was more or less taking advantage of these mage heavy and Ludwin and Majaya heavy meta. I really haven't played a lot of other heroes, especially at the top. There were so many 330, 340 rated mages, all mages. I don't know. It worked.
It did.
Obviously.
So let's talk a little bit about how quick match is different than tournaments, because we talk a lot and allude on the show to how there's quick match decks and there's tournament decks, and we play differently in these different things. But how specifically do you have to play differently to be successful in quick match?
I think you have to be so much more diversified. Well, I mean, obviously you need to stick to your guns, like if the deck has certain win scenarios. But like, for example, like my best when I was climbing the ladder, or if I play in quick match now, I try and include 2 Shriek, 2 Leyline Nexus, hopefully a Severed Ties or 2. Whereas in a tournament deck, I might only choose 2 Item Destruction instead of having the extra Severed Ties or something like that. Just try and be a little bit more diverse, because I think the opponents you play are more diverse. Like I'll see random cards in quick match, like misplaced, or a random Snow Sapphire armor or things like that, and you just need to try and be prepared for so many different things.
Yeah, that's true. But that's about it. I mean, there's not a huge difference. You just kind of the cards you usually sideboard, you have to keep in a quick match, because you really don't know whom you are going to face. But,
well, yeah. I think that there's another big difference, though, and that's in the hero diversity that you face in. I mean, obviously it's going to vary a bit by your rating, because I know there are some people on the forum saying all they ever fight is mages, which hasn't been my experience going in a quick match.
Well, it changed, but at the beginning of the ladder reset, everybody was playing mages. And the few guys who tried lands weren't experienced with lands with the new one, so they weren't doing it very well. Very well. So.
But I mean, well, let's say I go into quick match. I can expect to see anything from Turadoon to Moonstalker to Banebow to Lance or Serena or Elementalist, Zaladar. Pretty much anything. I think Logan's the only one I don't really tend to see. But when you go into a tournament, you usually have a much clearer idea of what heroes are being played. There usually only maybe like 5 or 6 heroes tops that you expect to see at any given tournament.
That's because the quick games are for 500,000 people who have downloaded Shadow Era. And it's a fun factor, you play for fun. So there's no problem if you play all your decks with mage to just make a change and just start using a warrior or maybe using an elementalist. Many people do that. You will see some people even in high rates, maybe close to 300, because I don't think that over that there are too many experiments. People who would have their high ranks but now use a different deck for the fun. But when you go to tournaments, you just expect to see the same 40, 50 people. I don't think that there are more than that who play just their best decks.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, at the beginning of a new letter season, people usually approach it like a tournament. I mean, they take it seriously.
Yeah.
That's true. Everyone wants to break into the top 20 right at first, since the ratings don't decay.
Yeah, that's why in the beginning it's all
But
about
after a
mages.
while, yes, what Otto says is true. People play for fun, nothing else.
Yeah, it's very difficult to climb now.
That's true. Back in the beginning of the season, when Sisyphos, you actually got to the first spot for a while, and you were kind of trading back and forth with TJ Ace. What's been the hardest part about reaching the top of the quick match ladder?
Some of the randomness you mentioned. I met an elementalist player, and it was really bad. He
I imagine.
he played elementalist and shadow form, and I mean it makes no sense. But if you run into him as Banebow, you'll get crushed. And I had this guy like 2 times in a row, and yeah, it was.
It was a little frustrating for you.
It was frustrating, right? Well, it quickly disappeared, these kind of random matchups, and the higher you went, the more mages you had, and that's where it became easier, ironically.
Do you think that if the ladder were to reset today, that everyone would still revert back to a mage heavy meta, or do you think it would look different?
No, people know by now that mages aren't that dominating anymore. Yeah, a few would try to do it with mages, but there are many other good decks out there.
If it is like that, then you would probably see too many Moonstalkers, probably. If mages go and become fewer than they were, I think that Moonstalkers would be very, very much popular than they even are now.
That's true.
Yeah, Moonstalkers would definitely. I think then you'd see it would just kind of cycle though, and then you'd see more, Mage, and then it just kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's kind of interesting. There might actually be a cycle built into the Shadow Era meta between Moonstalker and Mages, because there's so many other decks that are viable or not viable based on their matchups with either Mages or Moonstalker.
Yeah, exactly. Like Warriors, right?
Right, Warriors are the perfect example, or Gwen is another great example, totally awesome against Mages, totally terrible against Moonstalker. So that's interesting, actually. I've never really thought about it in those terms. But Moonstalker and the Mages basically define the meta.
Yeah, I agree.
So profound.
Wow, it's just like the whole meta just got summed up in these classes. It's amazing. That's I've been thinking about that for a while and what that means. All right, so let's move on to armors. We've had a lot of people asking us to cover this because we've been talking about a lot of the different types of allies you can play and which ones we like and don't like, and etc., etc. And armors, I guess, have a special place in people's hearts. And BDK specifically has asked us 3 times to cover this. So, what is your guys' favorite armor and why?
Before anyone asks, I would like you once again in this State of the Era episode to clarify this out. Do you mean the one armor that we would pick for all our decks if we just had to pick one, only one?
You know what? Let's go in a different direction this time. Just what's your in general? What is your favorite armor for each of your favorite decks. Like what?
Okay, so you mean the one that we have more fun using independently of the hero? Okay,
Right.
Right. Okay.
Right.
There's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of fun ones. They have some cool effects. I think definitely one of my favorites has to be Snow Sapphire, just because it's so powerful and it can seriously be a huge game changer. Like, I mean, it's good versus a lot of different things too. Like, you could use Snow Sapphire versus a hero that uses weapons, or you could use it against a hero that, you know, has the board with allies, and then they have to bite into your armor, and then you can just win the board back because they're all frozen. And then another really cool one that I want to talk about is Crescendo, just because, well, not just because I like Millstalker, but just because the armor is it's pretty powerful. Because even without the effect, take away the effect of Crescendo, which is really cool. Take that away though, and you have an armor that just keeps gaining defense and has a huge durability, like really, really high.
Well,
and
you
so,
might play Armor of Ages if that's what you like. It's basically the same, only better.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's true.
In that regard, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I was just saying that, like, I mean, I use it for the effect. Obviously, I don't plan using Crescendo around using it for its durability, but it's just kind of a nice little side effect. And then
sort of like even if you can't get the effect off, you still saved a lot of damage, so it was still pretty cool.
Definitely.
And then you add that effect on top of it, and it's totally amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
My choice would be okay. I would let Sisyphos say my choice because we are probably having the same one.
Oh yeah.
I bet I know where this one's going.
Yeah, probably.
The one I like best is Gravedigger's Cloak.
What?
Because it's fun to play, and it's not really good, but it's fun to play.
Don't let Kate hear you say that. Gravedigger's Cloak is awesome. It's probably OP.
I also bought a Gravedigger's Cloak, you know, to go around in my work and in for cooking. It's so awesome that I use it in real life.
That's great. So, is that your favorite armor then, Otto?
No, that was a surprise. I thought that Sisyphos was going to say about Wrath of the Forest.
Oh,
That's what I thought too, actually.
Yeah, it's the armor that I use in all my decks where I can use it, and in 4 copies always, because it's the elemental draw machine of the heroes that it is that have access to it. So I use it in 4 copies always. And a part of Wrath of the Forest, I also like King's Pride and Black Garbs, but I never have them in 4 copies. I usually have 2 or a maximum 3 of them, depending on the hero.
Well, Wrath is definitely, I think, in my opinion, the best armor.
Which
it's
one?
Not Wrath of the Forest, because it's so much harder to remove than the other armors, and you don't play it as a mere defensive tool, so it's often not that bad if it gets taken out. You aren't dead if somebody kills your Wrath, so you can keep playing. You are usually still in the game if it gets taken out. If you play a Snow Sapphire or something, you usually have to, and if then a Leyline Nexus or something follows to take it out, it's often a good game. So most armors are desperate.
My favorite armor, I wanted it whenever I saw 1.3 for the first time. I wanted my favorite armor to be Black Garb because it just seems so cool and so powerful. But in practice, I found that I actually don't like it all that much unless I'm specifically teching people, because there's just way too many little Brutalises and whatnot running around and weapons that just make it completely not worth anything.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I really wanted it to work, but it often doesn't.
No, it's like the only decks that I use it in, I have like maybe 2 copies just as a sort of a backup plan or something like that.
Definitely.
My favorite armor probably is King's Pride, because it's just, I love how brutal it is. I'm just like, oh hey, I've got like 2 Puins and an Aldon on the table, but bam!
Yeah.
Not you're dead now because you just took like 1 billion damage.
Super Puins.
Yes, super Puins.
What about Super Moltens? You know, imagine a Zaladar having a King's Pride, you know?
Oh god.
Oh, that's my new dream deck.
Okay, but then imagine a Zaladar having a Wrath of the Forest.
Oh god, yeah.
Way better.
So,
well, Okay, but that's only because he doesn't have a good draw engine.
Yeah,
A
but
good
okay,
unilateral
imagine anyone having Wrath of the Forest.
engine.
I brought the conversation where I was planning it to go. I made some tactical moves, and here you are now all.
Nice.
All right. Wrath. Let me think. Wrath of the Forest would not be useful in solo Darkclaw.
Okay.
Come on, that's cheap.
Yeah, but solo Darklow, yeah, but solo Millstalker, you could use it for when you have the Shadow Knights. It would be really cool again.
Wait, solo Millstalker having ally? I'm confused.
So
A
am I.
Millstalker.
Oh,
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
practically solo, yeah, with only 3 Shadow Knights in there to loop them forever in late turns.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
That's true.
I guess Warriors wouldn't need it though. Warriors have Blood Frenzy. I mean, I guess they could always use it, and they just get tons of cards and always have 7 in their hand. But
Or you could just not use Blood Frenzy and not take damage and have like 30, 40 health.
Yeah, and just drop all the Chris and Brigittes around with all the draw that you are going to have and the cheap ally control cards.
yeah,
Although, to be fair, I think I would use... If I had to like pick one for a warrior deck, I would use Blood Frenzy before I would use Wrath of the Forest, actually.
I know I would, just because it's guaranteed cards. Well, not
Yeah.
guaranteed because it's advertised, but still, it's more than likely. I'll say that.
All
So,
right, but before we get sucked into another draw conversation,
Yeah,
let's
so
go in that direction.
so to number 5 again.
Let's bring it back to armors. Now, one thing that I'm interested in, and I had an interesting thought about, there's been a lot of talk about the expensive armors and Leyline Nexus and how, this is sort of an abusive relationship. Do you guys still use any armors consistently that are 5 cost or more, or have you guys basically given up on those?
I've given up on them. I'm not using any.
Well, the point is that the problem with expensive armors is not Leyline Nexus on its own. The problem is that there are too many super powerful weapons now, especially, Ankle Breaker. It is so powerful and is always around because Lance is so popular. And eventually you cannot and Berserker's End, of course, or Dimension Reaper. They are so powerful that you cannot just ignore Leyline Nexus. And
The
eventually,
armor I used to use a lot was Snow Sapphire, but it doesn't work anymore. It was so great against Gwen and Amber. No, well, not Amber. No, she had Smashing Blow, but a lot of heroes just couldn't cut through. So, but now it doesn't work anymore.
That's true.
But
Also used to be really good against portal decks before.
Yeah, portals too.
I think plus, I mean, the fact that I know it's been talked about, a crazy amount of times, but the fact that you get a card from Leyline, you just gonna replace it and just take away their armor that they just spent so many resources on. It's just I personally don't really use high cost armors anymore either. They're fun, but they're not really viable, especially in like a tournament setting.
Yeah. I don't really use them either, and it's mostly, I get the feeling we all have just stopped using them because Leyline Nexus, everyone has it, and it just makes playing those armors not very useful. Do you think that the effect of Leyline Nexus has been bad
I think, but it's not.
in that
It's
regard?
not. Okay, so I speak.
Okay. Yep, now I can hear you. Okay, you were like cutting out for a second there. But the question is Leyline Nexus damaging the meta by making expensive armors obsolete, basically?
The point is that, as I was saying before, Leyline Nexus is very popular, not because of the armors that are being used, but it's just because of the weapons. And that is why it has the extra draw, because if the opponent plays a weapon, he gains an instant advantage over you. So the card draw is just what you get as a present for messing your whole turn to just reply to a weapon played. But when it comes to expensive armors, you are in a very bad position because they are mostly defensive, and if the opponent destroys it, then he keeps having the advantage that led you to use the defensive armor. So that's why expensive armors aren't played so much. Of course, the expensive ones that were used were Snow Sapphire and a little bit of Armor of Ages, which eventually started dying when 40 card environment was introduced, and the King's Spite. but the truth is that I use King's Pride with all my priest decks, and I guess everybody is. And I have usually some copies, maybe 2 in my warrior decks. Not so often as I used, but I continue having them.
Now, an interesting thought that I've had is that usually this is the sort of discussion that we get when we start talking about this. It's like, yes, Leyline Nexus is kind of keeping armors down, and that sucks, and we need to find ways to make armors viable even with Leyline Nexus out. I was having this thought recently, though. I've talked about it before. Leyline Nexus is actually not a very good card. It's really expensive, and it eats up so much tempo, and it doesn't really, all it does is like negate a card that your opponent played, but you have to take a whole turn to do it, and it only works on 5-cost things and higher, and all this stuff. Yet it is something that people keep playing, and it's something that is completely destroying the metagame for armor. And thinking about why that might be, I've been starting to be of the opinion that I think it's not that Leyline Nexus is too abusive. I think it's that the armors that are expensive are too powerful. Because people have been begging for a way for all the people who couldn't destroy them in the past. They were always saying it was completely unfair and unbalanced that they didn't have a way to remove them. And then they were given a way to remove them, and then all of those armors disappeared because everyone keeps playing Leyline Nexus, like just grabbing onto it like a life preserver. So is it possible then that the armors that are expensive are so powerful people can't afford to take the chance of not having Leyline Nexus, and that's the real problem?
No, I wouldn't say so. Why are you playing Leyline Nexus? Because there are some very annoying 5cc weapons out there. Not because of armors, that's just coincidental. For me at least.
But what do you destroy weapon-wise with Leyline Nexus? Because I find that I actually don't just, like, Soulseeker on Gwen is the only one that I use it consistently.
Ankle Breaker on Lance, Dimension Ripper on Soladar, that's very important.
Yeah.
Alright, I guess that's true.
Ankle Breaker.
Soulseeker on Banebow.
Berserker's Ends.
Alright, fair enough. So you think that the armors are just a, casualty of war?
Yeah.
Collateral damage.
If you put it like that, yeah.
Yeah, and
armors were never that popular. Mostly, it was only played as a hard counter, but you didn't like to. I mean, when I played Magia and Snow Sapphire, I always sacked whenever I could. I didn't like playing it. I didn't want to stall the game, but it was necessary to deal with Gwen.
I liked playing Snow Sapphire back in those days. It was like, oh hey, Gwen, and then I'd put down my armor and then I would win. I actually liked that quite a lot.
Yeah, but
you had to. If you didn't draw your armor, Gwen would, and Gwen was way more popular, and so you met a lot, and so you had to play Snow Sapphire. But every other hero, it wasn't necessary. Armors aren't that powerful. They should get some help, I guess, in the form of some cards that can protect the armor.
Well, let's imagine a world where Leyline Nexus doesn't exist. Like, we'll just take that card out of the card pool and leave everything else the way it is. You still think that you would say armors aren't that powerful?
Yeah.
No.
So a mage comes up against Lance with Spell Eater bands.
Okay.
Gwen fights against Snow Sapphire.
Gwen would play. What's the other card?
Poor quality.
Yeah, right. She'd play that. She'd have to.
She would have to, and she would still lose so much tempo because you'd play the poor quality, and then you would go from getting 4 attacks in 2 turns to getting 2 attacks in 4 turns, and then sure the armor would be gone. But
she would have some allies too. If she didn't have the board, she would just focus on your allies and heal while you burn her. And she would just pop up a Tainted Oracle, and you would just have to decide. Am I going to let her draw more cards, maybe one more poor quality, or am I going to leave the Tainted Oracle there to get freezed and wear the armor down with poor quality?
Chris is another example. You just play him repeatedly using retreat, so it's really not a big deal to take out an armor. To me, or you play Behemoth and Death Mage. in your decks and just use them for the burn. As Shadow, I mean, if you don't have Chris. It's armors on their own, they don't... Of course they help, they can be good, but they aren't so powerful that people have to play Leyline Nexus. People play Leyline Nexus because mostly of weapons, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if Leyline Nexus wasn't ever produced, people would still run poor quality and
Acid Jet.
yeah, Acid Jet. I forgot the name. For all the great 5-cost weapons. So again, it would be really tough for some armors. But then again, these cards wouldn't destroy totally a Snow Sapphire and wouldn't destroy totally a Spell Eater Bunch. So they might have just a little bit more popularity, but not a big difference like now.
I think if there was no ley line, that Spell Eater bands would be pretty dang popular. Just saying. Just because
I
of the
agree.
huge durability. So I think that, yeah.
What about Banebow or Gwen? They don't really need Spell Eater Bunch if they
No,
face a
don't.
mage.
I mean,
It's mostly about rogues, right?
yeah.
But
Well,
rogues,
I mean, even the 100. It's not like they wouldn't benefit from it, though. I mean, you could
yeah, of
make
course.
Gwen or different hunter pretty much immune to mage. It'd be an auto win because they can control the board with their weapons and allies, but then mage can't even use their best thing, which is burn.
But because of Soul Seeker, you don't need Spell Eaters as a hunter.
Yeah, exactly. If you wear Gwen now with where Leyline Nexus is present, don't you feel happy when you face a mage? So
Oh yeah, no,
you don't really need the Spell Eater, right?
no, I'm not saying
Spell
they
Eater
need it.
Bunch
I was
is
just saying.
especially made for. Mhm.
I was just saying that
Rogues.
it'd be nice to have, just because I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm not saying Gwen would have 4 copies of Spell Eater, but I mean,
Mhm.
yes, I was mostly referring to rogues, but I'm just saying that it would be more popular if there was no ley line.
I agree, but if there was no Leyline Nexus, rogues would be just overpowered because you could not destroy their ankle breaker and you could not destroy their Spell Eater Bunch. So it was practically that nobody would be able ever to kill them.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, Lance would be. Lance is already really good. He would be absolutely ridiculous if there was no ley line.
Yeah, just imagine.
Yeah. This discussion is actually getting me thinking. I wonder how I play differently than you guys, because you guys are bringing up a lot of very good points and a lot of accurate points. But in thinking about how I play, like when I have Leyline Nexus in my decks, it's always to target armors. I will use it on those weapons, against Lance or Zaladar when they have Dimension Ripper or when they have Ankle Breaker. If I have it, I'll use it. But I very rarely, if ever, have put a Leyline Nexus in my deck thinking this is for countering Dimension Ripper, this is for countering Ankle Breaker. I just literally, I just deal with the weapons. It doesn't bother me. I find that's sort of interesting. I'm not even sure
Yeah, but
what I think the difference is in how I play.
you're a match player, that's why. And you have 2 fireballs in both hands, right?
That's true. I do always have 2 fireballs.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah,
why do you need to take out armors?
For Spell Eater Bunch, I guess. I'm
Yeah,
imagining.
Spell Eater brand is about the only armor that's annoying to mages.
Also, Snow Sapphire and King's Pride. Those are huge.
King's
I
Pride.
mean, someone puts down a King's Pride and suddenly
Right, King's Pride, yeah.
that now they have more damage stealing ability than I do, and that's not good at all. And Snow Sapphire, I mean, especially in this day and age where you have lots of portal decks running around, where Gravebone's really good, that can actually slow you down a lot. And those are usually the cards that I think of when I put Leyline Nexus in a deck. Weapons, I'm just not that concerned about.
So you do encounter Snow Sapphire and King's Pride often enough, They're not totally dead.
Well, no, that's the thing is that, well, King's Pride you do encounter from time to time. Snow Sapphire I usually don't encounter outside of Quick Match because people play all kinds of things in Quick Match. But like in tournaments, I don't think I can remember the last time I saw one, but a lot of my decks still have it in there just in case, because those armors are that bad that I'm like, I would rather waste 2 card slots on sack fodder in case I see a Snow Sapphire or a King's Pride,
That's a good point.
because that's how powerful they are, which is what got me thinking along these whole lines in the first place. If it wasn't for those armors, I would just not have Leyline Nexus, and then when someone played an Ankle Breaker, I would just wear it down somehow or deal with it, you know, throw my Brute at it and then use Sacrificial Lamb to get cards, something like that.
Yeah, but we forgot another great weapon. We forgot about Dagger of Unmaking. You know, you cannot win a mage who has Dagger of Unmaking if you don't destroy it with Leyline Nexus. It's just an auto-lose most of the times.
Not if you have
well, it depends. If you play brutes and death mages, they can be retreated relatively safely, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, of course, but just think of it. You spend 3 resources.
Gargoyle
Gargoyle.
can take it on.
But the point is that the mage has so much burn that he can all he needs is just those 2 or 3 turns of not being attacked normally, so that he will win just with burning, no other strategy. I mean, is it too many times that you have worn out the Dagger of Unmaking without destroying it with a Leyline Nexus and you won?
Yes.
Yes, actually, but admittedly, that was usually in a Lance or Portal deck and involved Sandworms and Gargoyles. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So
against mages you play Sandworms and Gargoyles anyway, so it's often not much of a distraction from your general strategy.
But you don't know who you are going to face. I mean, you face an Eladwen, okay? And you play a Sandworm, and the opponent plays a Fireball and just a Winnie. You cannot focus on the Mads. It buys the Mads a lot of time. Anyway, it's just
well, no, it's definitely powerful. I'm not trying to say that Dagger of Making sucks or anything.
Yeah, but Otto said as soon as you can take it down immediately with Leyline Nexus, you lose, and that's not true. I think
it is.
You can take it down conventionally, using your own weapons and gargoyles and brutes and Chris and stuff like that.
The thing is that the tempo loss from playing Leyline Nexus is so huge. I think I can just never quite justify, since the weapons, you know, my opponent plays a weapon and they're going to attack with it. So it's already going to be down to 3 durability for most of these expensive weapons. So they're going to swing with it on the next turn, probably too. So I just need to do an extra 2 durabilities worth of damage to it. And a lot of times, unless I already have the board, I don't really want to spend a whole turn just to get rid of Dagger of Unmaking. I would rather play out like a couple allies or throw down a Brute or a DMT and then toss a Fireball out and then just deal with the thing rather than spend a whole turn just, you know, negating his previous play.
Oh, definitely. I think the key what you just said there though was that you have the board. That greatly changes how you would play. Like, I mean, obviously, like if you have a few allies out and they play Ankle, then you take Ankle out and they're really screwed. Whereas if it was reversed and they have like an ally or 2 out and they have Ankle, and you only have like 1 ally out and you don't have the board completely, taking out the weapon can like really help you get the board back.
In that case, though, would you rather play Leyline Nexus to kill Ankle Breaker, or would you rather play 2 allies?
It would depend on the ally I have out. Like if I have a fatty out, then I'd rather take out Ankle because the fatty can deal with their allies. I mean, usually, sometimes.
That's true.
But if it was,
I guess we're getting to very situational.
Yeah,
now.
That's true.
But so I guess my point is though, like, how often do you really think? Like, I know that we a lot of times will include Leyline Nexus because it's a great card. In general, because it deals with so many of these high-cost weapons and high-cost armors and whatever. But do you ever, when you're like teching for a specific opponent or a certain environment, do you really think like, okay, I'm going to put Leyline Nexus in because I expect to see a lot of Dagger of Unmaking? Because I don't ever think that way.
Yeah, no.
No, not really.
Definitely not.
So, and that's what makes me think that it's really that armors are too powerful is the reason why Leyline Nexus is messing stuff up so much, because it is Like, I think that if Leyline Nexus said destroy target armor with 5 CC or greater, that it would still see very significant play.
No, I disagree.
Mm,
I don't think it would either. I don't know. Yeah.
You're alone.
I don't know. I guess this will be a great discussion thread question, because we seem to be in the agree to disagree phase, and it's pretty much me versus everybody, so I'm probably wrong. But that's not going to stop me from trying.
Good for you.
All right, so let's go to some listener questions here. We had a couple listener questions this week. Hazunia wanted to know, what do you guys think is the best instant kill card in the game? And he named Now You're Mine, Tidal Wave, Assassination, things like that. What's the one you like the best, or you think is the best one?
Wait. Think the best about it, or what is the best card?
Well, his specific question is, what's the best one?
Oh.
Mind control.
Yeah, mind control, definitely.
Either mind control or capture prey. Right? It's pretty cheap. I will have to think of it too much to decide
Yes,
if
but capture prey can be reversed in a
yeah,
sense.
it can be
You
reversed
can
or
use
used
by lamp slamming it, or by removing it with what's the name of the card? The one that takes away attachments.
Severed ties.
Severed Ties.
Yeah,
right.
sever ties.
That one.
Yeah, all cards can be reversed by some way. But
Well,
I like it being cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, in late turns you can negate the opponent fatty, and you can play a 3cc ally. I'm not sure which one I prefer, but I just like capture prey now so much, especially when death mages are so popular.
That's true. It's definitely really good versus deathmage. Yeah, I think, I mean, mind control is in my mind number one, but Now Your Mind's pretty cool too. I like the cheapness of it, and plus too. I'm kind of thinking a little bit situational here, but I just know that this is one way how I use it. But like for example, a Moonstalker with Jeweler's Dream, I think is what it's called. You get the 2 resources back.
Yes,
so
Jeweler's Dream.
So you get a free NYM, if you will, per turn, which is pretty cool when you have it. I don't know. I like the cheapness of it for sure.
Now Your Mind is definitely great.
Yeah. I'm trying to think right now between Now You're Mine and Mind Control, which one I like better, because Mind Control hits a lot of really annoying things and can do a lot of damage, which is awesome. But Now Your Mind sucks up way less tempo and kills a lot of really key allies at key points in the game. Because like we talked about when we talked about 3-cost allies, those guys are really, really important and really powerful, and that's interesting. Yeah. I also feel like I want to like Assassination a whole lot, and I don't like it as much as I would like to, because depending on that ally to be on the board,
that's true.
It's difficult.
I mean, it's still good. You either have to have already the board, or you need a second card like Chris, or an ally you haste with Lance.
Yeah.
So it's more complicated.
Yeah. I mean, I still use it in all my rogue decks, but I just wish, I always want that card to be slightly better than it is.
Yeah, Assassination is great for the rogue card pool.
Yeah, rogues don't need that kind of help. I don't think so.
Make Assassination 2cc or something, it'd be stupid good.
Well, I mean, what about making it 4cc and it exhausts your hero instead of an ally?
No, that's too good.
That'd be pretty good. But I see where you're going with that. I like where your head's at.
You like where my head's at, but no, definitely not.
I mean, if this happened, imagine at turn 7 playing this card along with Jasmine. So Jasmine kills the Winnie with her attack and haste, and then she kills with the card the Fatty, and you just exhaust your hero.
Yeah.
Which is no big deal, because if you cannot just attack, no problem with that. But if you could attack and you had an ankle breaker out, then no really big deal with playing assassination. You just cast Jasmine, and she keeps the opponent ally distracted. She kills the other one, and you have an attack to mess with a third ally.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's true. Okay, so my idea is totally overpowered. I accept.
You could still use it when you're really behind, and this is the problem with assassination right now. But I think that is the reason why it's a fair card. You can't use it at all times like you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And
True.
if you could just exhaust lands, no, that would be mean.
Yeah, you have access to Nightshade, so there's no problem with assassination. Anything more would just be overpowered. You have your Nightshades, and if you don't play against the mage, then you have the material to use assassination in all times. You can only
Or Banebow, actually. I had an old Serena deck that I tried playing against Sisyphos, actually, and it was actually doing really well, and I was pretty happy with it. And then I played against his Banebow and realized that when you have 3 Chris and 4 Nightshade in your deck, that doesn't work at all.
yeah, that's true.
Hey,
I think you won one of these matches, so it wasn't all bad.
Yeah,
he won because Banebow is bad at drawing, and he probably destroyed Wrath of the Forest and stole a card, and it was a good game after that, right?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I think I did win one of those games, but I think it was because he had a really bad draw. I just remember in the first game I played like my draw was something ridiculous like Chris turn 1 and then turn 2 was like 2 more Chris's and then
Aldon.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
not good against Banebow, no.
and then it was just like, oh hey, bam, all my guys are dead. Then I followed up with a Nightshade or something. And
Yeah, but you couldn't you just sack them and play the big guns instead?
Well, in that particular game, I remember we actually talked about that. I didn't have the big guns. In the later games, it was better. But my ally, it was like, I'm trying to remember exactly what I had. I remember I had the 3 Chris's because I remember how ridiculous that was. And then my other 3 cards were like assassination and
Yeah, well, but in general,
stuff.
it shouldn't be too hard for Serena against Banebow.
Yeah, I think Banebow should having a hard time facing a Serena because he has too much bad ways of drawing cards. If Serena destroys Wrath of the Forest and steals a card, then I think it's a good game for Banebow. It sounds
Right.
like that to me.
No.
Well, the point of the story is I have adjusted my Serena deck since then. It doesn't have as many weenies now. I took the Chris's out. But my point was that Nightshade is not always that secure.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course it's not.
True.
But all right. So the last listener question that we have for today, Cypher3RX83 wants to know: is there anything from the old version of the game before 1.3, any of the previous versions that you miss, that you wish could be brought back or feel nostalgic about?
2SE draw a card.
I was thinking that same thing.
Yeah, everybody.
I missed that.
I never got to even see that.
Whenever I read this question, one thing that sprang to mind was Gwen's old ability, and I've been trying to decide if I actually miss it or not, because the passive 4 attack thing on her weapons was really great, but now that her ability with the Shadow Energy gains durability on her weapons, I'm not sure. What do you guys think about that?
Wait, first of all, so I can get in the conversation, what was her old ability?
Her old ability was a passive ability that just said your weapons have +2 attack. She did not spend Shadow Energy
when
on her own self.
When you attack, so in defense she would defend for 2.
Oh.
So she would have a Soul Seeker with just 4 durability, no way to make it bigger, and she would defend for 2. So it would be too much easy to take her weapon down. She would have to focus on either allies or a hero and make her strategy in that way.
Wait, before we get farther into the discussion, just out of curiosity, was this meant to be a nerf, or was it supposed to be just like just a change? Like,
It was supposed to. Yeah, it was because a weapon like Beetle Demon Bow was it was crazy good in her decks because she didn't need Shadow Energy at all.
That's a good point.
But
That's a good
because of that, you could never ever really make a good Shadow Energy based weapon for other hunters. In that way, it made sense, I think.
Yeah, basically, there were actually a number of passive abilities in the old version of the game, and around version, what was it, 1.28, when the big overhaul happened, they decided that all hero abilities must cost Shadow Energy. They were just doing away with the passive abilities because
Gotcha.
it created problems where, like, you know, the fair Shadow Energy cost for something like Marshland Sentinel or Beater Demon Bow or Gravedigger's Cloak,
Yeah.
it was not fair. You were either going to be too powerful for the passive ability heroes, or it was going to be unusable for everybody else.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But
Sorry-
yeah, so
Sorry to
so
detail
so
that.
what do you guys think about Gwen's old power versus her new one? Do you like this new one better?
I don't care.
Sisyphos putting it out there.
Sisyphos has a favorite hunter. He doesn't need Gwen.
I like Victor, but Gwen, no, I don't know. I don't like her.
What makes this hatred spawn for Gwen?
I don't hate her, I just don't care about her.
You sound like you had a bad breakup with her and you're trying to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was pretty ridiculous, the old ability, if you remember how...
Like
I
Iclipse's
mentioned
old
this.
deck?
I mentioned this. No, not that kind of deck. But you had Bazaar. You had a couple of Into the Forest, and basically no allies.
Mm.
And these kind of decks were relatively popular. They played similar to the old Dark Lore. You just spammed your attacks on the enemy hero, and it worked way too often. And every time I didn't draw a Snow Sapphire on time, I kind of made a mental note to hate Gwen.
Yeah, I do remember that was a little bit excessive.
Yeah, I think just based on what I'm hearing and what I'm picturing in my mind, I think that the new ability is better. Like, I mean, not better for the game, not better for Gwen. to clarify that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the added defense is quite nice, actually. I think it helps.
The fact that she keeps her attack on defense and the fact that it adds durability, I really almost feel like this ability is better. I think she got a buff. But it's hard to say because she only gets to use it like once every 3 turns now.
Yeah.
But I used to play Eclipse's old Gwen deck back in like 1.27. And I have this new Gwen deck that I'm using now, which is kind of a similar style. And I'm just trying to imagine which one I like better. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, the point is that there are some cards very popular in the game that can really destroy Gwen's strategy. Apart from Leyline Nexus, I mean, a simple Priest of the Light can really destroy Gwen. When you are at 2 Shadow Energy and expect to kill 2 allies and heal for 6 the next turn, and then comes the Priest of the Light, it's like, oh my god, I have lost the game by one simple Priest. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, I've definitely had those games.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I think that's where the passive ability, her old ability, makes it a little bit better in my mind. Just because it always happens.
It's true. And Amber used to be like that too, actually.
Really?
And as a mage player, that used to really irk me. I guess it still does, actually, because her new ability is not that much different.
Well, the old ability, like with Gwen, she didn't have an extra attack on defense. So you could take down Duelist Dream and stuff with Gargoyles. I think it was easy. It was easier, actually.
That's true.
Old Ember was easier.
Yeah, it's a buff
for
now.
mages. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. She got a buff because she also got all the warriors got a nerf with Blood Frenzy. So I think it's fair, but the new Amber ability is definitely more strong than the old one. May I say that I miss the old times when there were no Birgittas, and I liked my Zaladar deck because they just destroyed right now.
Zaladar Mega Rush old school days, though, that was a fun deck to play. I agree with you. I kind of do miss that.
Yeah, totally.
I miss I totally lost my train of thought. I don't know what I missed. Yeah, so basically, we don't.
You miss it a lot.
I do. I miss it so much.
I can tell you what I don't miss. I don't miss for the week that I played the 1.29. I don't miss the Aladwin could attack the hero with her ability. I don't miss that.
It's funny because I didn't read Cypher's full question, but he sort of added an explanation on the end, and one of the things was that he missed Aladwin's true ability, and I think he's the only one. Yeah. Sorry, Cypher, but I don't miss it at all.
You know, the ability
what's
was
the true ability, the 1.29 ability, or before that?
Probably.
Yeah. He probably means 1.29, because before that it was the same as it is now, except weaker.
Yeah, maybe he misses it.
Misses Aladwin being weaker.
You know, the truth is that I would like to see a match being able to point at the hero. You know, it makes sense. Of course, not in the overpowered way that it was introduced in 1.29, and it was just ridiculous. But wouldn't you like to see a mage being able to target the hero? Doesn't it make so much sense?
It makes a lot of sense. It just makes for a lot of death race decks, which...
No. I mean something less strong than 1.29. Something that would be fair. Something that you could build a normal, decent strategy around. But I would like to see a mage being able to target at the hero.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be damage of any kind.
Yeah, it should be in a way that it would be fair.
Yeah, but what would...
I don't know. I haven't thought of it. I just thought of it.
Well, here's an interesting question, because I remember back when the whole discussion was going on with Calm Down about what the 1.28 changes should be in that one gigantic thread. I tried suggesting that Magia's power should be the way that it was, with the conditional draw when she kills heroes for 4 shadow energy, but that it could also deal 3 damage to the hero. Do you think that was too strong?
I have said the same thing back then.
I think it'd be interesting. I think Magia's already really good, so I mean that'd just make her even better. But
well, it would be different because when you hit the hero, you wouldn't draw a card.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm saying, later on in the game when you have maybe like a Toma, or you have cards and you're just looking for that final little, burn to kill the hero. I think there'd be a lot of situations where the Magi would be way better for being able to hit the hero. I don't know. I guess I'm just scarred from the Aladwin being able to...
You're like, damage will never be done to my hero from a mage shadow ability ever.
Yeah. Maybe a mage in a future set that when they eventually add more heroes, maybe a mage that can disable a hero for a turn or something cool like that. I don't know. Just throwing ideas out there.
Yeah, that could be.
Maybe in a future set they'll print an ankle breaker that disables heroes as well.
Ooh.
That wouldn't be broken at all.
Okay. Don't laugh about it. I'm pretty sure that eventually there will be a weapon like that. With a fair cost. If it has to cost 8, then so be it. No problem.
With a low durability, could work.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy. In other TCGs that you guys play, is there cards that are just cost an absorbent amount of resources like that? Is there the equivalent of a 10cc card in other games?
Oh yeah. In fact, let me bring up. Give me 1 second here, because I want to make sure that I remember this card as perfect. Okay, yes, there is a card in Magic the Gathering that is retardedly expensive, but it's a ability type card, 1-shot effect. Target opponent sacrifices a creature, discards 3 cards, and loses 5 life. You return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, draw 3 cards, and you gain 5 life.
What? What the fuck? Okay, wait. So then, try and put it into terms of resources for me so I can get an idea of how many that would cost. Try and convert that into...
Yeah, there's no overpowered cards. It's only overpowered for their cost. Because if it costed 12 resources, then it's not overpowered. Nobody would use it.
Yeah.
Yep. It's and actually that's one thing that's definitely true in other games. A lot of times you see these super retardedly powerful cards, but they cost so much that it just doesn't matter. You can't use them. I'm not really sure how to put Cruel Ultimatum into Shadow Era cost terms, because it only costs 7, but it costs 3 different colors. And that's not a concept that's very... It makes it extremely difficult to cast it, but that's not a concept that's very transferable to Shadow Era.
If you
I
had to
haven't
guess,
played-
over under 12.
Um,
I was just talking. Never mind. You can just skip it.
yeah, I'll try to explain it to you after the broadcast because
Yeah.
I think I just have to explain magic colors to make that work.
Okay, yeah. Do that later.
It would be expensive.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today, guys. Let's get over to the discussion thread. I'm really curious what you guys think about the Leyline Nexus armor thing. Do you think that Leyline Nexus is abusive towards armors, or do you think that armors are too powerful and they make everyone play Leyline Nexus? I'm really interested to hear what you guys think about this question specifically. And is there anything that anybody misses from the old version of the game? That's another, I think, very interesting question for those of us who have some nostalgia for old decks and things like that.
Oh, plus the weapons. Like if you use Leyline Nexus for weapons or armors more, like the idea on that.
Oh, true. Do you use Leyline Nexus for weapons or for armors, or only because it can do both? Sound off at the ShadowEra.com forums. Until next time, this is the A1 Alliance signing out.